So I recently fell down a complete rabbit hole with reading journals, and it all started with really thinking about my goals. You know, we're a quarter into the year of 2024, and I've really been reflecting on some of my goals, particularly goals to take care of my mental and physical health, my emotional well-being, to really invest in time for me and make sure that I am creating the space I need to rejuvenate, to be inspired, to feed my creativity, and that way I'm able to pour out into all of the different projects and people that I have that I want to pour into in my life. So I started to reflect on how, as a child or as a younger version of me, I really spent time, with myself. How did I feed and nourish my creativity? And one of the ways that I did that was through reading. I was an absolutely avid reader as a child. I read, well above my grade level and conquered big chapter books early, loved fantasy, loved fiction, loved mysteries, loved thrillers, all the things. I just devoured books as a child. And even into my young adult years, I spent a ton of time reading and kind of allowing myself to get lost in different worlds and visit different places. And I just was reflecting on how powerful that was as a source of creativity, and also, new language, new cultures, experiencing different things. And I longed for that. I longed to get back to that and to have that solace. And I think probably in my late 20s, as I started to, mid to late 20s, as I started to have children, and my children demanded more of my time, our family demanded more of our time, and also as I began to pursue different levels in my career and also higher education and different degrees and certifications, and my reading really became more about productivity and accomplishing things and studying, learning for an exam or a certification or preparing for something at work or a project that I was working on, and less about relaxation and enjoyment. And so I want to share with you today some steps I am taking to reclaim that part of myself, to make that part of my goals, and to bring back that element of creativity. Before I dive right in, I do want to say welcome to those of you who are new to Planning Annie. I'm super glad you're here. We are a community of planner enthusiasts. We love getting things done. We love being productive. We love having the right system that helps us accomplish and focus on all the right things in our lives. We also love stationery and planner supplies and all the creative outlets of journaling and using different mediums to support our planning. So if that sounds like something you enjoy, I do hope that you will subscribe and become a permanent part of our community. Please hop down in the comments below. There's always a great discussion going on down there. Ask questions, answer questions, offer ideas, take ideas from others. Definitely keep the conversation going after the video. For those of you returning, I'm super glad you're here, and I'm excited to share with you how I am reclaiming my passion for reading and reclaiming a bit of more time for relaxation for myself, more me time, and that is going to be through reading. And of course, I have to have a journal to go along with this. So welcome to my new reading journal. This is a little gem that I found on Amazon. This is a B5 size journal, and of course I'll have everything I talk about listed down in the description box below. I was looking for something that I could pick up and kind of play around with, be creative in, and to capture that fire and kind of my journey in this quest to reclaim my creativity through reading stories and absorbing stories. And this journal was so adorable and so unique. How cute is this little design? It's just black and white stripe. It is a B5. The company is Lycian Paper Art. And it is soft bound, so it's not a cardboard cover. It's more like a leatherette cover. And I just thought it was really unique and really, really nice. It is a dot grid journal, and I set this up. Over the last several weekends, I've been setting this up as a reading journal for myself. I'm showing off my aloe plant because, just as a side note, I'm showing off how happy my aloe plant is. This little guy was a baby spawn out of a much larger aloe plant that I have, and it is just like taking over my desk right now. So I'm super proud of how fast that thing is growing and how well I'm doing. I'm not naturally, I've had to work very hard to grow plants. It doesn't come naturally. Anyway, let's get into this reading journal. So the inside cover is black. The paper is white, but the inside cover has black paper. And so I pulled out a lot of supplies. I will have them listed down below, but I actually got some specific reading themed paper packs and sticker books, but I also pulled from some of the things that I've had for so long and just haven't used. So for example, all of this white writing, I'll show you in the back. This is what the cover looks like. It's just black. I've attached a pocket here and have some stickers in it, but it's just black. I did all of this decoration with the washi tape and the scrapbook paper, the stickers. All of the white is drawn in with a paint marker. And I just got some inspiration off Pinterest for this quote: reading is the most agreeable way of ignoring life. I love that. I just think that is so cute. So this is sort of sets the mood and the tone for my reading journal. I expect this journal to last me probably several years because it is very big. I don't remember I don't think the pages are numbered, but I want to say it has close to 200 pages in it. So this is going to last me a long time. I am not using this with like a monthly or a weekly plan. You won't see like monthly calendars or, weekly days of the week, stuff like that. I'm not using it like that. And I'll obviously talk more about how I'm using it specifically, but I do expect this to last me a long time. So I wanted to set it up with a good theme when you open it up so you immediately feel the vibe of the reading journal that I have going on. And you can also tell I got really creative. This was a really fun scrapbooky type process for me. Okay, I'm also gonna have to give credit to many reading journal booktubers here on YouTube, and I will have some of the favorite channels that I watched listed down below if you are also looking for inspiration for a reading journal. Okay, so as we get into this, the first thing I did was I did set up a year at a glance. Now, I initially thought perhaps I would use this like a future log, and if I know certain books are coming out, or if a book that's been made into a movie is coming out, I would want to write that in here. Maybe I don't use it as a future log, but I use it as a place to capture what I read when. I just felt like it would be a good idea to start with a 2024 calendar, since 2024 is going to be the first year that I am in this journal. So I'm not exactly sure how I'll use this. And if you notice, again, I have drawn in these tiny calendars. I don't know what it is that makes me drawn to draw. These things annoy me to draw, but for some reason I find myself continuing to draw them. I just like the way they look when it's all done. So I've set this up and I'm not quite sure how I want to use this. If you all have ideas as I go through this journal about how I might be able to use this page or this spread, please let me know. I've even got some space over here that I could do, something in this space. So please give me some ideas as you think of them. Okay, this next spread I absolutely love. I'm so excited about. So this is a list of 100 books to read in a lifetime. Now, if you go to Google and you Google 100 books to read in a lifetime or 100 books to read before you die, you're going to see lots and lots of varied results. I think like Reader's Digest has one. There's an Amazon version. There's a Barnes & Noble version. There's a Goodreads version. There's all different versions of this. What I did was I kind of compiled the list after looking at many of those. I compiled the list of mostly classic books like 1984 and Anna Karenina and Frankenstein and The Diary of Anne Frank, books like that. Many of these books, not all of them, but many of them, I actually was required to read as a child in, elementary or middle school, or even high school. But quite frankly, I can't remember what they were about. For example, let's see, Catcher in the Rye is one that I was definitely required to read in high school. I cannot tell you what that book is about. I have no idea I have like vague memories of it. So I have little boxes to check off, and some of them are checked off, like Anne of Green Gables. That was one of my favorite books when I was younger. I definitely remember reading it. So I've got it listed here, but I've got it checked off already because I don't feel like I need to read that book again to really count it as a book I read in my lifetime. But some of them are ones that I have definitely read before, but I'm gonna read again because I don't really remember them. So I did a little Dutch door here. This is where you take a page and you actually cut around and just have this little middle section. So I wanted all the 100 books, there's 25 per box. I wanted all of them to be kind of in this one setting, and I want to be able to just check off the classics. And so I think this is a great example of why I say I believe this journal is going to last me much longer than a year, probably many years, because there's so many pages, and this is a spread that I can just keep coming to and marking off books. Love this book-themed, reading-themed paper around the outside too. So, all right, next up I have a page with reading journal ideas. So these are like pages that I would like to put in here at some point in time. And I felt like this was a good idea for when I just want to kind of pick this journal up and start playing with it. And maybe I don't have a specific book spread to add, but I want to, kind of play in my journal. I've got a list of ideas, and as I see things on, videos or Instagram or, other ideas from other people, when I think about another page I'd like to add at some point in time, this is a place where I can just keep track of that. I also have my book rating scale. Now, let me just say, I don't really leave ratings on books anywhere. I'm not going into Amazon or, Goodreads, things like that. I'm not going on there and leaving ratings, detailed ratings. So this is really just for me. Now, when you start to kind of look around at other reading journals and people who, on YouTube or other places that are really avid readers, you'll see like some really complex rating scales. And I totally get why you would need that if you are if you're a book reviewer as a side hustle or as a profession, or if it's just something you're really passionate about, leaving those reviews. I don't feel that way about it. These are really just for me, so that I can look back. So for example, my rating number 2 is, this book was not completely bad, but it wasn't really great either. I'm probably not going to be rereading this book since there was very little I enjoyed about it, right? So there's nothing really technical about that review for me. I'm not talking about the plot or character development or, all of that. I'm just kind of giving myself an indication of, how I felt about the book. So that's my rating scale. I did want it here because you'll see that I'm using a rating scale as I complete books and read them and, reflect on books that I have read. I wanted to be consistent in how I'm rating those books. All right, here is part of my goal for 2024. It's definitely going to be a stretch goal for me. It's very ambitious. I would like to read 100 books this year. I don't think that's possible, particularly because I'm not even starting this goal really truly until, March, mid-March, beginning of April. And I haven't read 100 books in at least 20 years, maybe more. So I think this is like really impossible to achieve, but I'm going to try anyway. And I already have one down. And so I've got, the way I set this up, there's 4 shelves, I drew this in. There's 4 shelves. Each shelf has 25 books, blank books, and they're just kind of drawn in. And as I read a book, so for example, I just finished reading A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I added that book in and, wrote the title and the author and then colored it in. There is a color coding down here. If it's an ebook, I'm coloring it sort of this gold color. If it's just a physical book, I'm coloring it yellow. And if it's an audiobook, I'm coloring it sort of an olive green. So that's my color coding, just so I can get kind of a visual of the format by which I read books. Most of them are probably going to be ebooks, which I did want to share with you all. I pulled back out my Kindle Paperwhite. And if you all have never used this, I know there are very specific camps that people can be in. My husband is in the camp that electronic books are trash and reading is only really accomplished with a physical paper book in hand. He's in that camp, and he's an avid reader. He reads a ton of nonfiction, history, those type of books. In order to support his habit, I'm reading mostly ebooks because, quite frankly, we don't have enough room in our house for both of us to be avid readers of physical books that we then own. The other thing I like about the Paperwhite is you can really tap into your local library system and also have access to audiobooks through your library system, electronic books. So there's some really awesome things that you can take advantage of with a Kindle. And I love the size. I just have it in this clear case, and then I also popped a clear pop socket on it because it just makes it very easy to read. It fits in the hand really well. I mean, you can see here's an A5 notebook, so you can see it's even smaller than that. It's probably about the size of a B6 notebook. Very light and very portable, easy to carry around, and the battery life is incredible on these things. So anyway, if you're an avid reader and you just don't have the space, or you want to take advantage of library books in an electronic format, Kindle Paperwhite is a great accessory to a goal like this, which is very challenging for picking up a reading habit. So there's my goal. We'll see how it goes. All right, next spread I have is a really fun one. I love book series, just like I like movie series. I love to follow a story over, years or multiple characters. And so I've started a list of some of the series that I've either read a portion of or I have been wanting to read. And so I've got a few here. Maybe you recognize some. Some of them are actually series that I've read before, like Lord of the Rings. That is just such a great adventure. It's also quite a commitment, and I did include The Hobbit as part of the series, but I would love to go back through those again. Some of these are TV shows or movies that I watch that I want to actually, the book is always better, right? I want to actually go back and enjoy the books. So you can probably tell what my favorite genre is. I love fantasy fiction. I love that. I think that is it's a great way to escape. I also like dystopian, Hunger Games, Divergent series, things like that. I love to read stories like that as well. So I've got definitely some work to do here. I actually started, the first book I've read as part of my new goal is the first book in A Court of Thorns and Roses. And I am currently reading The Fourth Wing, which is the first in the Empyrean series. I can let you know what I think about those some other time. All right, next up I have book bingo. So this is something that I picked up off of many YouTube videos and flip throughs of reading journals that I watched. I think it is the cutest idea. You can find lots of ideas for how to set your game board up, but basically you have a bingo board and then you have your play board, and when you finish reading a book, you fill in the boxes based on the categories that book meets. So I have 25 different categories with a free space in the center, so really 24 different categories. So for example, this box that I was able to fill with the first book I read this year, or the first book as part of this goal, was non-human characters. So A Court of Thorns and Roses fills that little box. And I will continue to go, a book over 300 pages, a book with 2 authors, a classic, a nonfiction, soon to be a movie, a thriller or mystery, a book that I've owned but never read. I actually have some of those and I want to read those. So I think this will be really fun and, keep me engaged in this journal and keep me engaged in the goal of reading. So really excited about this. Next up is I wanted to keep a sort of monthly stats tracker here. Just something simple. So I started it in April since I did start dabbling in this goal and setting this up in the month of March, but I'm really going to get underway with this goal in the month of April. So I want to track the books that I've read, the total number of pages that I've read, the format, whether it's a physical book, an ebook, or an audiobook, and then the star rating. So if I read 3 books in April or 5 books in April, and I have, how many 1-star ratings, how many 3-star ratings, how many 5-star ratings. So I just want to keep track of that in one place. That's what this is. And then I'm also set up a space and leaving myself a space to put in what are my favorite books of the year. So when I get to the end of the year, I want to be able to see what were my favorite books of this year, and I'll really base that off of the star ratings that I give. So what are my favorite books? Quotes and words. So this is a place for me to write down things that I just like, one quote from a book or, a new word that I found myself having to look up. That's one of the best things about reading is, expanding your vocabulary, your language, reading about different cultures and different places. So I wanted just a place to put down some quotes that I appreciated and some words that I learned. After writing the first quote, which was very long, I feel like I'm probably going to have another spread like this because I don't know that 1 page is really enough given my ambitious goal for reading this year. So I may end up having to add in some extra pages or do something different here, but I love the idea of keeping a quote from each book. And then I have my read next and did not finish list. So hopefully I take a very long time to fill this up. Did not finish is just books that I started that I just couldn't get through. And, I gave it a good effort, but it's just not something that I could get. I'm just not enjoying the book. So I kind of want to keep a list here, not just to keep a list, but also to see what interests do I have and what is not interesting to me, so that when I go to, read my next book, I can, if there's certain themes or tropes or character types, a certain genre or subgenre that I'm just not finishing, I'll know that's probably not going to be the book for me. And since I'm just getting back into the habit of reading, I think this is going to be helpful for me to see. Reading next is really recommendations, things that people say, hey, or I hear about, or, friends or family members are talking about. I can write down things that I might want to read next here. So that's what this spread is all about. All right, next up we have the places that I go. So this is one of my favorite parts about reading, and especially reading fiction, is being able to travel to a different time, a different culture, a different place. And I absolutely love it, like Narnia and Hogwarts and Neverland and Panem, Wonderland, all of these wonderful places that you can go. I hope this doesn't upset anybody, but I have multiple copies of the different books in the Narnia series, and I actually tore this map of Narnia out of one of the books. Every one of the books has the same map in the front, so I felt like, I own multiple copies. It wouldn't hurt to just have one, so I actually pulled this map out and put it in here because this is one of my favorite series of books ever. I've read it multiple times in my childhood and in my adult life, so I really, really love this. But anyway, this is a place for me to just keep a running list of the places that I go in the books that I read, the different lands, the different times, the different cultures, things like that. I want a place to just keep track of where I go. So that's what this is all about. This spread is a little insane. I thought I would have fun. It's probably not the most practical. I own a lot of cookbooks. I actually I read cookbooks like books. They're some of my favorite nonfiction books to read. I also am always on the lookout for classic or antique cookbooks, and one of my favorite type of cookbooks is to find older, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago cookbooks that were created by like a church group. There's lots of church, fundraising cookbooks that have put out there, and let me tell you, those are the best recipes. I absolutely love those. So anyway, I have a very large collection of cookbooks, and I took the time to actually make little books and write the titles of some of my favorite. Now, this is not all of them, but these are some of my favorite cookbooks are listed here. Now, definitely not it's a cute spread, definitely not the most useful, not the most practical way to list your cookbooks, but it was really fun to set up. So I kind of love this page and I kind of hate it. I do have some room to add just a few more. I think I've got like 1.5 rows left that I can add some cookbooks to. So that's about how much space I have left in my house for cookbooks, because they're everywhere. So it fits. All right, and then I have, keeping in line with the nonfiction book list, I have my list of nonfiction books that I want to read, and I've left myself some extra space because I love to add this. So when books come along, particularly about productivity or time management or leadership, how to set goals, things like that, there are just certain nonfiction books that I really and authors that I really look for and am excited about. I've read some of these already. Some of them have been on my list for a while. So as I have time to read nonfiction books, and I find audiobooks are a really great way to sort of absorb the information and to tackle these type of books. So I've got my list here that I can easily reference and start to pull those in using the library app on my Kindle so that I can listen to the audiobooks. All right, and then we have my very first spread for a book that I finished. So I just finished A Court of Thorn and Roses. I had heard a lot about this. Overall, I gave it 3 stars out of 5. Again, that's my personal ratings. That might not mean anything to you. I find that the way we feel about books is extremely personal to us. There were some things I loved about it. There were some things I didn't love about it. I am going to read the next book in the series, though, even though it was only 3 stars. I love the world that it's set in, and sort of the characters, are interesting. So I am definitely going to be reading the next book in the series. But I plan to use the pages of this journal to do a lot of this, sort of reflecting on the books that I've read and creating themes. The theme here is right along with what's going on in the book. So I plan to keep doing this. I got some inspiration from Plant-Based Bride here on YouTube and her reading journal to look at the Goodreads Choice Awards. I looked back to the 2023 winners in each genre, and I just wrote them down. I don't like all these genres. Like, I probably will not read any of the horror books because that's just not a genre that I'm really interested in. YA, fantasy, and sci-fi, I'm not really sure that that's my genre either, but I did write them down because, according to people who are avid readers, these are the best of the best in all of the categories. So I thought I'd write them down. If I'm looking for some ideas, here's a place that I can come. And then I also took the time to write down my husband's library, books that he's read over the last couple of years, what he thought of them, when he started them, when he got done with them, how many pages it was, and the rating that he gave it. And then I've got space to keep adding here. I just attached a little sticky note here, so as he thinks of new books that he wants to read, I can capture them there. And that's all I have set up in the front part. I do have just a page here with the number counts for the spread for the boxes, so this sort of helps me be able to set things up evenly when I want to space things out. And then I have a master reading list for this year. I've got some space. I saved some space in the back. I figured I'd start here and then just work towards the middle if I need to keep going. But I've got, the title, the author, the type of book, the genre, the number of pages, when I started it and when I finished it, and the rating that I'm giving it. And I'm using these little rating stars. These are printable stickers from I Love to Print on Etsy. I'll have that link down below, but I'm using those to keep track of the rating that I'm giving books in my master index. All right, so there's a look at my reading journal. I'm really excited about rediscovering the creativity and this part of my life. I feel like I will be rejuvenated by this, and it's a way that I can relax and just sort of escape the pressures and the stress of everyday life, and journey somewhere else. So I've missed this part of me. This used to be a big part of who I was, and I'm excited to sort of reclaim that here in this part of my life. So I would love to hear from you. Do you have a reading journal? Are you an avid reader? Do you want to become an avid reader and have a goal in that as well? I'd love to hear all that down in the comments below. If you'd like to see more videos as I spend time in here and continue to add things, if you'd like to see an update sometime in the future on this journal, let me know down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to Planning Annie for more content like this, and as always, thanks for planning with me.